Hey there everybody, just Marco here with another one for you. I'm in the Kensington Market area of the city this time, and that statue behind me is of Al Waxman. They used to call him the King of Kensington. He was the star of a show called The King of Kensington way back when. Anyway, so I'm with the very difficult to get one's hands on Fujifilm X100VI, courtesy of my friend Steven at VizTech. VizTech is a big camera store here in the city. As you know, I'm a Sony shooter. Let's see how I find my way around this camera.
I'm reinventing myself. I'm me and nobody else. Ooh, I can't help but smile.
Personally, I would have gone with a different shade for Al. If you didn't believe me. Random girl with headphones. This place was total chaos. It's always churros time, if you ask me. Bungalow, one of my favorite stores, vintage clothes and furniture. Yes, Toronto has bike cops, and they give chase. Yes, and the X100VI is a very capable video camera as well. My buddy Ryan, owner of Longboard Living. If you're in the market for a longboard, go check it out. This guy was not happy I was taking pictures of the bar rather than explain my legal right to do so from a public sidewalk. I decided just to make up a story. Shot wide open here, decent out of focus background, very colorful streets. This was the most Kensington looking person I saw all day. Bananas, anyone? It was about time to head home after I took this shot. On the way home I got a shot of this guy. That high-res sensor came in handy. Not horrible for architectural photography if you can make the focal length work for you. Hey there, welcome to the studio. I'm finally back inside. I probably would have been out there shooting longer today, but the battery went on me. Steven, the owner of this camera, again, Steven, thank you very much for lending me the camera. That's Steven here at VizTech in Toronto. Big camera store. I buy a lot of my stuff there. Anyway, Steven was so kind as to lend me his personal X100VI. He had told me that if I was just shooting photos, I should be good for a couple days with the same battery. But of course, I wasn't just shooting photos. I was also shooting a little bit of video as well. And, you know, truth be told, I had the camera on a lot of the time. I could have had it turned off as well. I certainly did have enough time with this camera to form an opinion about it. I did have some opinions before I even got my hands on this thing. First off, I love the way it looks. So I do come from a bit of a design background, and I certainly do appreciate aesthetics. I've always been a fan of this vintage thing that Fuji does, not just with the X100 cameras, but their other cameras as well. Anybody who knows cameras, who's used a camera like this in the film days, if they look at this, they're gonna know where everything is. You have that immediate familiarity. I guess some people call it muscle memory. Just the way everything is laid out is, it just makes a lot of sense. And not having to dive into menus because everything is here. And it's done in a very elegant way. It's not overcrowded with buttons either, because these buttons, they'll do double duty. Like the dials, they're also buttons they push in. One of the things I probably would have done a little bit differently maybe is this little button with the Q on it. Q is for quick. It's a quick menu. It is great getting in there into that menu quickly. But I did find when I was shooting one-handed especially, I was hitting that by accident, and it was a little bit annoying having that menu come up. There isn't going to be a lot of bad things to say about a camera that doesn't stay on the shelves. I mean, it doesn't even make it to the shelves sometimes because they're already spoken for before retailers can even put them out. I can't see myself ever buying a fixed lens camera, but if you're going to do a fixed lens camera, this is the way to go about it. If it's an APS-C sensor, 23 mil, very, very practical focal length if you're gonna have a lens that's stuck on there all the time. That 40 megapixels is fantastic in lieu of a telephoto because you can crop when you've got a 40 megapixel image. Would I like this to be a little bit wider? Yeah, in some circumstances. You don't want anything too wide on here because then you're always going to lose out at the other end. F2, it's a beautiful compromise because if you went with a faster aperture, which would be nice of course, but if you went with a faster aperture, you'd probably have to go with a design that made this camera a little bit larger as well. You can get some relatively out of focus backgrounds and the quality of those out of focus backgrounds is quite nice. Some of the other stuff that you'll find in this camera that you won't necessarily find in other cameras, things that I wouldn't mind having in my Sony cameras. Built-in ND, it's got 4 stops of built-in ND. That is great. The film simulations, I mean, that's one of the reasons why a lot of people buy this camera. You can get a film look, you can even add film grain without the simulation, which is cool. You've got a couple different choices as to how much grain you want. All that stuff I prefer to add afterwards anyway. Even the film simulations, when I was out shooting, you know, I was shooting with the new simulation that they've got in here just because I wanted to see what things look like with that new one they've got. And I was also shooting RAW. I was shooting in that mode where it shoots RAW and JPEG. I'm still gonna prefer RAW. I mean, that's just me. Steven, for instance, who owns this camera, is a serious photographer. He's gonna have this thing set to RAW all the time, like I would if I owned this camera as well. Would I want to own this camera? Of course, I'd love to have one of these cameras. Am I gonna go and buy one? No, I'm not. I've got too many cameras, first off, and I probably wouldn't use it often enough. So in conclusion, you know, I've heard people say that, well, that camera can't be for serious photographers. Well, you certainly can take very good pictures with this camera. There's no reason a serious photographer wouldn't use this camera. Sure, it's got one card slot. Whatever. Steven, the guy who owns this camera, he's a professional photographer, he's a serious photographer. He'll probably just keep it in RAW mode. Of course, a large part of the market for this camera is people who do want to keep it simple. They don't want to bother with changing out lenses. Maybe there is a lot of stuff that they just don't want to learn as well, which is fine, you know. This is also a camera that somebody who's getting into photography can grow with as well, because you know, you can start turning off those automatic features and really diving into some of the intricacies of photography and the technical side of it, sort of, as you get more and more comfortable. This camera is for a lot of different people, and but it certainly does nail its target quite well. It certainly is fashionable, you know. I like walking around with things that look nice, and it is gorgeous. It's a gorgeous camera. Anyway, as usual, I hope you guys got something out of this one. If so, consider leaving me a thumbs up. If not, that's okay too. I certainly had fun making this video. It was a blast running around with this thing, and a lot of fun. A joy to use. A camera that's a joy to use, definitely. If you want to make sure you don't miss any of these in the future, consider subscribing. If you've got ideas for any future episodes, please leave that in the comments below. And until next time, keep working to make your chosen idea a reality. Peace.